Hello, lab rats, and welcome back to the laboratory. Broadcasting to you live from a corporate black site in the outer solar system. How is everybody doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
I should add my BGM back in. Hi, Delta. There we go.
Healing
I'm gonna turn it down
space.
even more than usual, though. He's spacey. Trifle Tom Holland perfume ad? What? Excited about spaceship? Yeah. So I am here today to teach Paige about realistic spaceships. Because they are cool. Right, Paige?
Yeah, so I'm used to being a weeb. You know, I'll hold on to that. I'll hold that sign. I'm used to like pirate ship themed spaceships. I'm used to like more anime themed spaceships, Outlaw Star and all that good shit. But because Vivi's gonna be partaking in something that we're working on in the background, she decided to grab me by the sides of the head and slowly juice the ink out of me and tell me about how spaceships are actually designed. Help me, chat.
Yeah, because I think not only is realistic ones, like, obviously realism has a sort of value in and of itself, but also I think realistic ones are cooler than like fake ones.
She's squeezing the sides of my head, not my cheeks.
So how much do you even know about spaceships and like rockets and stuff?
I'm gonna be entirely honest. I know dick all about nothing.
I expected as much.
Space is interesting to me as much as it is terrifying.
So, let's start by talking about what you wanted out of a spaceship for our TTRPG campaign we're working on, which is, you said you wanted to be able to go between planets in a few days, right?
Yeah, I mean, we are gonna have the suspension of disbelief because of magic and all that. This
yes,
is a
there will be magic, but I want to do
fantasy.
this realistically because it's funny, and it is entirely achievable realistically. It's just very difficult, and we need to do some pretty crazy stuff to get there. And it also provides a really good framing device for my explanation about how spaceships work in general.
Don't worry, we'll set up teleportation magic after the first season. I promise you that.
The way you would travel between spaceships, between planets in a spaceship in a few days, is using what is called a brachistochrone constant acceleration trajectory. That is a lot of words to describe something that is very simple. So let's say we have one planet over here, we have another planet over here. The way you do, there's a lot of complicated transfers you can do, like Hohmann transfers are the most efficient way in terms of like delta V, which I'll explain that later. But a constant acceleration brachistochrone, to put it simply, what you do is you accelerate constantly half of the way there, and then you turn the ship around to decelerate the other half.
Oh yeah, I've heard about this before.
If you do this at about 1g, which is the force of Earth's gravity, so the acceleration of Earth's gravity, you can get from Earth to Mars in a few days. This is really, really hard to actually do, though. And I'm going to start explaining why. Oh, you cut out?
No. I'm still here.
Oh, I didn't. It looked like your mouth was moving and I didn't hear you for a second.
Oh, that's because I'm putting food in my mouth.
Oh, yeah, I just thought that. So, in order to start explaining this, we are going to have to explain a little bit of math. Don't worry, it's like grade school math. In order to describe how rocket engines perform. So if we treat a rocket, Raptor General, thank you for the follow. If we treat a rocket engine as a black box. We don't like care about its internals, we just care about what performance it provides the vessel. Then there are really only two numbers we care about for its performance.
Well, if we go off sacred geometry and teriology, 1 times 1 equals 2.
Anyways.
I'm gonna make you want to kill me by the end of this stream.
The first is thrust, which is force in newtons. So we write it as F because it's a measure of force, right?
Yeah.
This is the force the drive exerts on the ship. And therefore, the mass of the ship as a whole divided by the thrust gives you how fast it accelerates. The other thing we care about is specific impulse, which you write this way. That's I with a subscript SP. This is basically that it drives fuel efficiency. It is the thrust per kilograms of fuel or propellant that you use. Got it, Paige?
Yeah, so far.
Somewhat counterintuitively, we measure this in seconds because it's in newtons a kilogram, and newtons are just kilogram seconds, so the kilogram unit cancels out. So this actually ends up measured in seconds. So, the way we calculate this from certain characteristics of the engine, both of these, we need to know two more things about the engine. For force, for the thrust exerted, it is the exhaust velocity, which is written like this. This is literally just the speed at which the exhaust is exiting the rocket nozzle, times the mass flow. This is how many kilograms of fuel and propellant are passing through the engine every second. Got it?
Uh-huh.
For specific impulse, it is quite literally just the exhaust velocity times a constant value of 9.81.
Gravity.
Which means your fuel efficiency is entirely determined by how fast the exhaust is coming out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, a Trifle Myth says something.
Not quite. The
Not
second
quite.
dimension is ISP at G0. Okay, yeah, technically. However, I don't want to, like, ISP under different circumstances.
My brain is starting to burn already.
Yeah, I wanted to avoid getting that deep in the weeds, Trifle. Okay. So, now that we know how to describe the performance of a rocket engine, let's start talking about some real-world rocket engines. I'm going to make like a little graph like this, where here is ISP, and here is thrust. So there are two types of rocket engines that have been used in actual missions in real life. There are chemical engines, which are your standard, like you mix hydrogen and oxygen together and they burn and they make a big fire that spews out of the back. Right, Paige?
Yeah.
These provide a whole lot of force, but very little specific impulse compared to everything else we'll be discussing. In fact, chemical rocket engines will usually run out of fuel in like less than a minute.
Huh.
Unless they're being used for just like slow maneuvering in space. They use up fuel so aggressively, and because of that, that's why rockets are staged and can only go like on one mission. The other we see in real life is ion engines. These, so an ion engine, what it does is you take gas, like typically it's xenon, you ionize it, like you zap it with electricity to ionize it, and then use an electromagnetic field or an electrostatic field to accelerate it to a very fast speed out of the back of the rocket. You are sending very, very few particles out, but they are going at an enormous speeds. So you have very little mass flow, and therefore, even with your high exhaust velocity, very little thrust. But since the exhaust velocity is so high, you have very high specific impulse. In fact, the thrust of these is so low that a hummingbird pushing on the craft with its wings would provide more force.
Jeez.
But they can keep burning for like over a year, which is obviously also helped by their very low mass flow, which means these tend to be on unmanned probes to like the outer solar system planets and stuff, where it's going to take them forever to get there anyway. Obviously, neither of these are suitable for our constant acceleration brachistochrone, right? We need to keep burning for literal days, and ideally not be out of fuel when we're done, which a chemical engine cannot get anywhere near, and an ion engine just cannot provide nearly enough thrust.
So what are we to do?
Yes. So, one more. This is a rocket type that has actually been built and tested, but never used on an actual mission, which is a nuclear thermal rocket.
Ah, boiling water.
Yeah, pretty much.
All I know about nuclear and any other new type of energy
Which, amusingly, the acronym for is NTR.
Ah, naturare.
Are there combined rocket fuel plus ion engines? No. It doesn't make sense. There are combined nuclear thermal and ion engines, though, actually.
Rock rockets, I squint my eyes at you, Vivi.
Yeah, it's funny, because when I see NTR without context, I think of nuclear thermal rockets. So let's go another thing and like start explaining how a nuclear thermal rocket works.
Don't you hate it when the third type of rocket just cucks you out of your entire fuel efficiency?
Oh my god. Anyways, a nuclear thermal rocket. What we have basically is we have.
Sorry, the cat is coming and she is demanding attention right now. I'm still here. She's just squawking at me.
No, this is a smoother way to draw it. We have a nuclear core, which I'm going to label U-235 because that's what usual nuclear thermal rockets use. This, like a normal nuclear reactor, gets very hot. For power, you'd use that to boil water and use that to spin a turbine. But let's just demonstrate the heat a little. Now, you run this much hotter than you would run a power reactor, because you really want the exhaust to be really hot so it comes out really fast. Some designs will use gaseous uranium at like 22,000 degrees. Not ones that were actually built. The one that was actually built used solid uranium at a much more moderate temperature. But there are designs like the nuclear light bulb for like gaseous uranium ones that are at enormous temperatures. This nuclear reactor is contained inside a vessel. Which connects to the rocket nozzle. On the other end, we have our fuel input, which is typically, it's either, it can be liquid hydrogen. Well, not fuel. Not fuel, it's propellant, because it's not actually reacting with anything. It's either typically liquid hydrogen, which is the best performing but hardest to store, and then you could do water or you could do ammonia. This is sent flowing over the nuclear reactor and around it and across into the nozzle. As it goes past the nuclear reactor, it gets heated to enormous temperatures by the reactor's heat and radiation. And so when it comes out the back of the rocket, it's coming out at extreme speeds. This exhaust velocity is much more than a chemical engine, while still being able to push like chemical engine amounts of propellant through. You don't get quite the thrust of a chemical engine because there's a limit to how much you can heat up with it, and the reactor itself is very heavy. But you get like multiple G's of thrust while having, with the hottest nuclear thermal rockets you can get at designs, you can get comparable exhaust velocity to an ion engine.
Right, and they're so hot because they get cooked. I get it. I'm here for the jokes.
The problem is, even that is not really enough here. While you can potentially, with the highest performing nuclear thermal rockets, do a constant acceleration per keystone trajectory, you will be out of propellant by the time you get there. The specific impulse is still not high enough yet. You have enough thrust, you don't have enough specific impulse to do it without running completely out of propellant. So you could only do this one way, doing it this fast. So, we have a couple of other nuclear-powered rocket concepts to discuss. Another is, what if we use the nuclear reaction directly? Which is where we get into the regime of, all the way at the end of our little specific impulse chart. Let me get rid of my cables because they're getting in the way. Your fusion. So, you may know in a fusion reaction, the fuel for the fusion reaction gets very, very hot. We are talking millions of degrees. That translates to if you forced it through a nozzle, it would be going at up to like 10% of the speed of light.
Oh.
The description of the axes, the top one is the y-axis is thrust, and the x-axis is specific impulse. So this is basically the highest specific impulse you can reasonably get without like antimatter photon rockets that introduce a whole bunch of things, a whole bunch of problems that we're not going to talk about here. The simplest version of a hold on, let me save this and grab another one. I'll get to it, Phoenix. The simplest version of a pure fusion rocket is we have a standard sort of magnetic containment vessel. For our big-ass fusion reaction. Which is, of course, happening at enormous temperatures and is basically like an artificial star. So, like, basically like an artificial star burning. Inside of our magnetic field containment, we have a little gap at one end. Just enough to allow a small amount of the fusion plasma to leak out. This propels our ship forward, and because it's leaking out at a significant percentage of the speed of light, it gives us absolutely insane specific impulse, orders of magnitude higher than even ion rockets. There is a problem here, though. Remember how thrust is defined in large part by mass flow in addition to exhaust velocity?
I was going to say the problem is how much heat you're putting out.
Yeah, that's the problem. The more fuel we put through this fusion reaction, the more heat and radiation we're making.
Like you said, it was like millions.
Yeah, which works if we're using very small amounts of fuel, which
like
means our mass flow is
Texas.
Which means our mass flow is awful. Meaning we have shit thrust again. It's better than an ion engine's, and the specific impulse is even orders of magnitude higher than even an ion engine's, but we still have, like, no thrust. We're lucky if we can accelerate the ship at, like, 1/10 of a G. In fact, it's hard to get out to even, like, 100th of a G acceleration. Not 1 G acceleration with this. If we increased our mass flow to the point where we could get thrust like that, we'd basically not be making an engine, we'd be making a nuclear bomb. Because no containment vessel could withstand that, right? Right, Paige?
Yeah. I think I'm following?
Yeah. But what if we designed our rocket around using nuclear bombs as propulsion?
I'm sorry,
What if we just accepted that in order to get high mass flow with a nuclear
What
rocket,
in the orc-based
nuclear
faith
rocket,
shit are you talking about?
what if we just accepted that in order to make a high mass flow pure nuclear rocket, we need to make it into a nuclear bomb?
Humans really are just orcs. Yeah, sure. Tell me how bomb make thing go fast. Tell me how shove bomb up butt make me go fast.
So we should legalize nuclear bombs.
No!
So, here's how it works. Here's how the rocket I want to describe works, which is a variant of the Orion concept. It's not the original Orion concept, but it's a variant. So, we have a little machine over here that takes in deuterium and helium-3 from separate fuel. And it shapes them into, like, a specific ice sculpture shape, basically, and freezes them. Helium-3 actually can't actually freeze because of some exotic physics. It can only ever become a liquid, so what we're doing is we're actually just freezing the deuterium to contain the helium-3, but, like, really well mixed together, right?
Yeah.
We do that to freeze it into little tiny pellets that are shaped sort of like this, like a teardrop with the end cut off. These are very small. These pellets we then yeet out the back of, we then use some kind of machine to yeet out the back of the rocket. Because obviously if we're using nuclear explosions, we can't have the nuclear explosion happen inside the rocket. So we yeet it out to about 300 meters behind the rocket. Once it's there, we use a set of heavy ion beams to blast it, which compresses our little pellet of deuterium and helium-3 until it undergoes fusion, nuclear fusion, and makes a huge fucking explosion. Well, not really an explosion because we're in space, so there's no like air to make a shockwave, right? It's just a burst of heat and radiation and some very thin plasma in all directions.
Oh.
This is not happening inside the ship, it's happening 300 meters behind. So while we still have to worry about heat and radiation, we'll get to that. So
how, if there's no shockwave or no force of explosion, and this is happening 300 meters behind the ship, how is it propelling the ship?
exactly, that was just what I was going to get to. So here's where we do something very clever. There's a reason why we use deuterium and helium-3 specifically as our fusion fuel, despite the difficulty in using it. It's much harder to get react than our other options like deuterium, tritium, and deuterium. But, unlike those fusion fuels, the majority of energy, about 80%, of the energy released by the fusion reaction is in the form of charged particles, like protons and helium nuclei and electrons. Charged particles are shaped by magnetic fields. So not only do we have this, what we have on the ship is a huge ass magnetic coil that creates magnetic field lines that crush down on the fusion explosion as it's happening. This forces the charged particles, although we can't influence the neutrons and gamma rays that are as part of it, to go in a narrow column. Some of it gets spit back at the ship, which we need to deal with. But largely we direct it out and back, and it is pushing on the magnetic fields. And when you push on magnetic fields, you also push on the coil generating them. So that's how we're pushing the ship forward.
I have no clue what Lilia just said.
I don't either. I don't
speak Russian.
Anyway, so it's pushing on the magnetic fields, which are in turn pushing on the magnetic coil, which then pushes the ship forward. Now, some portion of the gamma rays and neutrons, even though it's going in all directions, will end up coming back at the ship. And also, we are directing some of the charged particles back at the ship. We need to deal with that. However, since it's some distance behind the ship, we have a lot less to worry about than if it was happening inside the ship. And, of course, we also only need to shield the ship instead of all directions. So what we do is we simply put a giant-ass plate of tungsten alloy that is several meters thick on the back of our ship. This is to the point where it will be a significant portion of the mass of the entire ship. It is just a huge-ass, thick plate of tungsten.
Oh, I love my ships being bottom heavy.
The reason why we use a tungsten alloy specifically, by the way, is because even though lead makes for better radiation shielding, lead has a low melting point, whereas tungsten has a melting point of over 3,000 degrees. And this is going to get very hot. The shield is going to get extremely hot. It will be white hot. Yes, Paige?
The tungsten does allow this, like, energy to pass through, the ion beams and, like, the particles to pass through it?
No, it absorbs them, so they can't.
Well, I mean, the things going out of the ship, so
Oh,
the
no,
things coming
we
back
just
to the
have,
ship.
like, a hole in this. We just have, like, a complex structure where there's, like, a hole in this and then more shielding behind it so we can pass through. Right? It's not invisible to those things. Yeah, we're just using some... like, it's a little bit more complicated than I drew it. There's, like, complicated little channels in it that allow these to pass through without... because, like, radiation in space travels in straight lines, right?
Yeah.
It won't bounce around. So we only need there to be not a direct line of sight to any part of our ship. Anyways, so this might introduce a question of, so if we're doing big explosions, how is this not just shaking the ship apart? Well, the first answer to that is we're not doing big explosions occasionally. We're doing it about 100 times per second.
My brain is trying to process all of this right now.
We have an enormous continuous series of nuclear explosions behind our ship that we are surfing on using a magnetic field.
We're weird as a species.
And then the way we further smooth this out is we just don't have the magnetic coil that's getting pushed on the magnetic coil and the big plate of tungsten, which by the way is called the shadow shield. I'll just go ahead and label that. Because like the rest of the ship lies in its shadow.
Me over here just liking slip space, teleportation, and other sorts of magic. And I'm over here learning, hey, shit ass, we're just using explosions. We're just blowing up bombs behind our ass. Hang on to your underwear.
Yeah, shadow shield is a cool term. Anyways, this magnetic coil and the shadow shield are connected to the rest of the ship by like some huge shock absorbers. That smooth out. That like smooth out our thrust, right?
Yeah.
You can see a similar thing on the Orion, which is on the thumbnail for the stream I posted on social media. That it has huge, shock absorbers connecting to its shield. So that while this is kind of like rocking back and forth as the explosions happen, the really fun thing is that we can know exactly what this would sound like because the ship will shake, like will vibrate a little bit while this engine is in operation. And it will be about a 100 hertz. And since it's vibrating at 100 hertz, because that's how often the explosions are happening, I can say exactly what the hum would be like.
Huh. Yeah?
Which is, you'll hear it on stream. I'm not doing it through Discord.
Oh, hold on.
This is what it will sound like when the engine's running. Well, yeah, that's the point of the shock absorbers, is that they give constant acceleration for the ship.
Is it that low hum?
Yep.
Sounds like me on a Saturday night, am I right, fellas? I'll see myself out.
That's no, it's 100 hertz, but no, I was just playing a recording that I grabbed before the stream.
In the words of Yakko Warner, good night, everybody.
But yeah, that sound will be in the background. Like whenever the engine's operating. And here we can easily do, well, I say easily, it's actually quite difficult, but we can do 1G of thrust and not much more. Constantly, and we can do that for months. Before running out of fuel. Because we have the specific impulse of a pure fusion. Because we have nearly the specific impulse of a pure fusion. There's some inefficiency there with how we're doing it. That's not in a pure fusion, but we have thrust comparable to like a nuclear thermal rocket. So, nuclear pulse. Yep.
Um.
Yes, Paige?
So I know we're just talking about like the fuel and not like the shape of the spaceships yet and all that. But when it comes to what we're doing specifically for our campaign,
Yes.
I am all for having some sense of realism and like maybe doing like an info document like for people that want to understand
Yes, exactly.
the inner workings of the ship. But during the campaign, I don't think we're going to have like sections where we're going to talk about, okay, let's talk about 15 minutes about how this ship works and all that.
Well, the reason I'm talking about this is because what really defines the design of the ship is what engine you're using in a lot of ways that I'm about to talk about.
I mean, I do like the hand wavium of like, I like cool ship designs and all that, especially if I can like stretch realism a little bit. But I also am wanting to stick to some semblance of, okay, how can this physically make sense, even if it is even if the shape doesn't make sense. Like, how can we make it make sense? How can we make it a reality even if the shape is not a reality?
So we have a couple of constraints that are imposed on our ship by using this engine. The first is, you remember the shadow shield and how it has to protect the rest of the ship, right?
Yeah.
So the wider our ship is, the wider the shadow shield needs to be. But that doesn't save us any thickness. It needs to be the same thickness no matter what. But it needs to be wider if the ship is wider. And because the shadow shield is so fucking heavy, that means we want our ship to be really narrow. So say we've got, like, our shadow shield here. We want, and it's connected to the ship by shock absorbers. We want our ship to be very long and narrow. So it lies within the shadow shield.
See, I'm not a fan of that shape-wise. Like, I can't design a cool ship just off of that.
I mean, I've showed you pictures of ships that are cool like that. Well, no, it's obviously not. So, another concern.
Also, I don't want people to ask if it's a giant dildo.
It won't look like one. Just make it pointy. I was about to get to that. If we're expecting the ship to get in fights, which our ship in the campaign will, then we also want it to sort of taper so that, like, the front is at an angle instead of having a big flat surface. So we end up with, like, something that's like a very narrow, long cone, or like a triangular pyramid. Sword ship? Yeah, it could be short sword shaped. There's no reason it needs to be equal width around. Yeah, there's other variants of a cone. The whole thing is that we need a long, narrow shape that tapers. But yes, we could make the ship shaped like a sword. Isn't that cool, Paige?
I mean, yeah. So, you've seen some of the samples of ships that I'm interested in. You know, like,
yeah,
we're not going with a pirate shape theme, but I do like elaborate designs where it would be like, okay, this section of the ship is dedicated to crew quarters. This section is dedicated to, we have a built-in fucking spa. I want. Ideally, I would like our ship for the campaign to have a suspension of disbelief enough that we could have an artificial gravity and some amenities so that we're not just...
Actually, I was just about to get to that. Since this ship is accelerating at 1g, if the floor is accelerating upwards underneath you at 1g, it feels like you're falling at 1g. This is how those planes that put you in free fall for a little while work, is they're going down at 1g, so it counteracts the force of Earth's gravity.
Huh.
So it will feel like you're falling towards the engine at 1g whenever you're on the ship. So we orient our decks not like decks in a ship where it's like this. We orient our decks like this, like a skyscraper. Or a tower. and then you feel the pull of 1G down on you, so it's like you're under gravity as long as the ship is accelerating. This is what they use in The Expanse as an excuse for why there's gravity on the ships. So we have gravity, as long as the ship is accelerating, of course. Isn't that cool, Paige?
I'm trying to process this.
So the ship
when
is
it's landed, it's almost like it's a building on the side.
Mm-hmm.
But when
It's like a tower. It's shaped like a It's shaped like a tower. Yeah. Or, well, like an actual real-world rocket ship, which, as you can tell, are tall and long, and don't land on their bellies. They land on their backs. Think of it like a skyscraper with an engine strapped to the bottom.
I'm still trying to process this. Trying to picture how it's. I'm having trouble myself visualizing it.
Well, if you're on the ship, the engine is always below you. The back of the ship is below you. And the front of the ship is above you.
I'm used to it kind of being like, how would the landing gear for this work if we don't want it to land on the shadow shield?
Like this?
Okay, so like classic rocket design.
Yeah, just extends up past the shadow shield. Also, by the way, the shadow shield will be radioactive. Like, constantly, even when the engine's not going, because of neutron activation. We need, to clad it in something when we land.
My head is starting to hurt.
Understandable.
Do you mind if I get up for, a minute to go grab some water?
Understandable. Go do so. You should have some water.
I'll be right back. I'm also going to clear my throat.
Just sterilize everyone around the landing site. It's fine. And I'm going to get to this in a bit, everyone in chat, but we also need a separate engine for landing maneuvers. Because we can't use this in atmosphere, we just die. Because there would be a shockwave in atmosphere. And it would shake the ship apart. But we can just use a more conventional, easier to understand engine for that. In fact, we can't use our main engine close to anything else at all. So if we want to dock with a space station, we need another engine too. You undock, you need RCS thrusters anyways. Exactly. The thing is, we can't use this main engine within...
I'm back.
Okay, there is an extra complication to landing, though, which is that we can't use this main engine in an atmosphere, because with a nuclear explosion in atmosphere, there will be a shockwave.
Oh, yeah.
So we do need a separate engine for landing maneuvers, and we also need a separate engine for, docking maneuvers, because we can't get within several, 100 kilometers of anything without irradiating it. when we're using our main engine.
Oh, this is for everyone listening in the chat. Let me just... There you go.
Yeah, so we do need a separate engine for like landing and taking off and for docking maneuvers, but we can use a much simpler engine for that, right? In fact, our best
Oh my god, I
option
thought that was a clicker.
is you can probably just use a normal nuclear thermal engine where you use a nuclear reactor to heat propellant. In fact, we could probably use our power reactor for that.
It is honestly a big pet peeve when the main spaceship is also the thing that lands.
Yeah, it doesn't have to land. We can just have a shuttle to land. But if we do want to land with it, we need separate engines.
So, the way I'm picturing it is kind of like... Going off of like the pirate ship shape one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more for having it land horizontal to the ground. So like it has a proper landing gear.
If we're going 1G, we need decks to be oriented like this.
This is also... I mean...
This is just basic Newtonian physics, that if we're accelerating at 1G, we will be pulled backwards at 1G inside of it.
I'm gonna hand-wavium this a little bit as...
You really want it to land on its belly instead of on its back, instead of on its butt?
Well, just as the GM, like for the orientation of cabins and rooms and all that, like the hand-wavium of artificial gravity.
Well, also the habitat section where the crew actually lives will be very small in there anyway, so you could totally make one that rotates. The vast majority of the ship is just
a trifle myth makes a good point there.
Pivoting crew compartments, yeah.
Hey! I like hand waving some stuff for the sake of not making my brain bleed. Don't make me slam the desk like Miles Edgeworth.
I personally would prefer if it lands on its butt, because that is a very iconic rocket ship thing.
But this is going to be a big ship that's supposed to have, like, maybe the first ship? But ideally I want us to go from, like, having a crew of 12 to, like, maybe...
Oh, to be clear, in order to
hundreds.
even have an engine like this, the ship needs to be pretty big. But spaceships in general need to be pretty big, like way bigger than you'd expect from the amount of crew they have. In large part because you need, like, most of the internal volume of the ship to be fuel tanks.
Yeah, Super
No, the background music is actually my own theme. What did you say, Paige?
Super Blink makes a very interesting point here.
Oh yeah, that is a good point. Yeah, about how landers. I do also like landers if you don't want to bother to have the main ship land.
There is that too.
And landers can easily do belly landing.
Do you mind if I put a link in the chat?
Sure. Oh, I don't think you're allowed to. Just give me the link.
Sure, just give me one moment. If I can open image in new tab. Shit. I'll just send you the Reddit link. Because this was the ship that I was originally looking at for the inspiration of the campaign.
Oh yeah, the one from Eden Zero. I'll post that link in my chat for you. Where yeah, it's just shaped like a sailing ship.
Yeah,
So it's a simple cone now, but it's going to look more interesting.
Yeah.
When we add a bunch
I like
of
the
stuff to
way
it.
that the compartments and all that are oriented here. Like, I know they're not vertical to everything and all that. But I like the idea of a ship like this being in orbit so that we have the lander down.
Mm-hmm. Let me, hold on. I'm gonna show you a specific ship I'm drawing from aesthetically. That is also a very hard sci-fi ship. That I think I shared with you, already. Hold on, let me bring this up.
Like, you could even see little mini lander ships in this, in the hangar. What is this? What is this from? The link, Igneous? This is from the manga Eden's Zero by Hiro Mashima. You might recognize the art style as he was the artist behind Rave Master and Fairy Tail.
No one remembers Rave Master.
I do.
This is a really big image. Hold on, let me scale it down. No, let me just do it manually. No, I can't do it manually. Fuck you. Fuck you. Hey, well, let me just put numbers.
There's the actual title for you in case my accent makes it hard to understand.
This ship is one I'm drawing from aesthetically.
5 squats, huh?
It's by an artist called Salmon. As you can see, he's using an actual Orion Drive. And it's shaped like a cone because it has to fit behind the shield. And it also has a bunch of
I want to see how the
radiators.
compartments in this ship operate. Like, how the ship compartments are oriented in this.
I don't think they show, but it is clearly vertical, like towards the tip is the top. I don't think the image itself shows that. But that is how it's oriented. You can also see it's a very large ship, despite having a relatively small crew.
I'm just trying to picture how people get in and out of this thing when it's shown in the horizontal orientation right now.
It's shown in
just my
horizontal
brain is
orientation
refusing
because
to
that's easier
process
to
it.
fit, right?
Yeah, it's just my brain is refusing to process it at the moment, and being like, it can't visualize it.
Like, you can see that little dot there is, like, the size of a person next to the ship.
Probably the worst time to take off my glasses to clean them. But boy, do they need a cleaning.
But yeah, I really love this design. Salmon has a bunch of really cool, hard sci-fi spaceship designs. That show they don't have to be, like, ugly, basic rockets.
Oh no, this is very pretty and all that. I'm just trying to picture how fast it could turn in battle, or like if this is just like a drag racer.
Oh, with our engine, we can only turn very slowly. It will take several minutes to turn.
Good thing we'll have to have some fighters in the hangar for when we have to send you out to fight other people, right?
Perhaps.
Or better yet, I'll just put you guys in mechs.
And we also very slowly turn, like in... Which also does, like, a sort of Age of Sail combat vibes with the fact that we turn very slowly.
Yeah. We'll just have to put you guys in mechs. Glory to Xeon.
Anyways, the artist is Salmon. I put it in the chat, giving credit where it's due. And that gets to another thing we need to talk about. Where the hell did I put... Oh, there I put my stylus. Anyways, so we have the decks like a tower. Another thing we'll need. So I've talked about this before on stream with you, but it's very hard to get rid of heat in space. Actually, wait, before I get into the radiator discussion, I'm gonna run and take a bio break real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay, I'll keep you entertained. Alright, so we're gonna take a moment to talk a little bit about Is that a reference? Is that a Lancer reference? No, this is more so just me. So for the campaign we're running, we are taking inspiration from Star Ocean, Eden Zero, and a little bit of Mass Effect. Mass Effect mostly in the idea of the relay stations. But a lot of my campaigns, because I love fantasy and I love magic, I just came in for the Tom Holland ad to hear Mass Effect. I'm just talking about the campaign that I'm going to be running with Vivi. The mass relays are going to be one of the things that we address in the campaign. But we are taking inspiration from Eden Zero and Star Ocean, which are sci-fi settings with an abundance of magic.
Yeah.
And
well,
I love
magic helps here
it.
anyways because I've made certain optimistic assumptions in the design of the engine that allow it to be able to do the performance. Yeah.
Just press the button, make the ship fat, open up the sails.
What do you mean?
Just force fan the ship into being a pirate ship.
Well, it will look kind of pirate shipping. So, anyways, the next big discussion I want to get into. Also, by the way, I saw people were talking about Mass Effect relays and stuff. Wormholes are the only method of faster than light travel, which may potentially be possible. So, wormhole gates.
We were talking about the Mass Effect mass relays.
Yeah. Anyways,
I think magic and sci-fi could make such a cool world that isn't explored enough.
Yeah, what I really like is when you have realistic science and then also magic.
It boils down to figuring out how to explain / handwave how multiple areas of a galaxy can have magic. And for that, it's mostly just... The usual writing method is just, hey, this is just like an interesting particle that's unique to this universe that grants people magic.
Didn't we want to do something like Orion's Arm, where humanity already colonized a decent section of the galaxy and then, collapsed into a bunch of fragmented human descended?
Yeah, that's one of the things we were discussing. And there's multiple races, multiple solar systems.
All of them descended from humans.
Yeah, and like how in Eden Zero, there's Ether Nano, which is just kind of like a specialized particle that's just kind of ever present in reality that can let some people access the Ether network. In this case, the Ether network being ley lines of magic in space itself. And similar to that is symbology in Star Ocean, which allows people to call upon the forces of nature.
The forces of evil!
the forces of reality to create great magical effects. It's the best way to get magic into a sci-fi setting is just to do a quick little hand wave of this is just how it is. Put the suspension of disbelief up to understand that this is not our universe and that they have the ability to do this.
And I also really like the contrast when it's paired with realistic technology and science. Like, Evangelion gets a lot of mileage out of that.
Oh, yeah.
For instance.
No, I agree. Okay. I agree that, Auntie.
Yeah. But okay, so next big discussion about spaceship design. Space is not cold. You do not freeze in space. You do not need to keep a spaceship warm. In fact, keeping it cool is a big issue. because space isn't cool, it's not hot, it isn't anything because there's nothing there.
I have one non sequitur question.
Yes.
At what point do we get to the toxic Yuri portion? We can't have a sci-fi setting without toxic Yuri.
True, but is that necessary?
The audience demands lesbians.
But aren't realistic spaceships already Yuri? And I mean, we have the toxic part covered with the fact that we're using nuclear bombs as propulsion.
I'd say they're more yaoi.
Nah, I think they're Yuri. No, but think about this. Two spaceships staring at each other across light seconds of void, firing nuclear missiles and lasers at each other. Is that not Yuri?
I love your laugh so much.
Thank you.
The toxic Yuri is when the ship's stock. No, that's yaoi.
So a spaceship needs... So because of that, the way something that's hot normally cools down here on Earth is by conducting or convecting away the heat into the air and whatever is touching around it. But obviously there's no air in space, so you can't conduct or convect away heat, which means space functions as like an incredible thermal insulator. So all the heat the ship generates stays on the ship and just builds up, which is a huge problem. The only way things can cool down in space is via thermal radiation, which is... And objects always radiate a small portion of their heat energy as light, right? This is why infrared cameras work. What are you doing, Paige?
Contemplating.
Yeah, your model was moving really weirdly.
Oh, it's because I swiveled in my chair left and right.
Oh, understandable. Yeah, okay. This is also why when objects get really hot, they start glowing, because the wavelength also decreases as it gets hotter, and eventually it ends in the visual spectrum, so you can see it. The heat energy being emitted as light, right?
Yeah.
This is a tiny portion of the object's energy, and it means this is a really poor way to cool down in space. Unless we take steps to maximize the amount we irradiate.
Have you been drawing anything? Because this stream
Not while I'm explaining this.
Oh, okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
So, the simplest way we do it, and the way most spaceships do, because they don't have, like, in real life do, because all the heat they have to deal with is, like, electrical systems and stuff. They don't have nuclear reactors on board, like this one will. And it's going to need some much fancier stuff to radiate heat. Is with some very simple panels. You have little pipes full of water or ammonia that circulate around the ship and absorb heat from it, and then they pass through these panels in like a loop and back into the ship and continue circulating around. Because you have these big flat panels that maximizes the surface area to radiate away heat, and it's basically just artificially increasing the surface area of the ship to radiate away heat, right? Sorry, what page?
I'm following so far.
Okay. It's literally just an AC. Yeah, it works like a radiator. It's very easy to understand this. You could. I'm just putting it here for demonstration. I'm not like thinking about the aesthetics very much. This is sufficient for like cooling electrical systems and life support systems, right? It's not sufficient for cooling a nuclear reactor. If we wanted to cool a nuclear reactor with simple panels, they'd have to be...
As a person who deals with AC, I will kill you for calling it AC.
massively large compared to the rest of the ship.
Okay.
So we obviously don't want to use this. luckily, as
So-
objects get... What?
With
What
with
page?
the piping that you're showing drawn out to the sides, wouldn't the
Mhm.
shadow shield have to be wider to account for that? Because the shadow shield has to be as wide as the ship.
Yes, but we don't have to shield our radiators as much.
I see.
They're not as fragile. And we can just put like a little bit of shadow shield cladding on the edges that stick out.
Okay, but Vivi, do you remember Stefan Boltzmann law?
I was about to get to that. See you, Cindy. I was about to get to that. So, but
Hi,
luckily,
Cindy.
the hotter an object is, the not only like more of its heat energy does it put out as light, it puts out a larger portion too. So the hotter we make an object, so the hotter we make our radiators, the more heat we can get rid of in a smaller space. We don't want to do this while this, like, you would think you could use like a super hot radiator for your like life support and electrical systems. It's very hard to run a radiator at a higher temperature than the thing you're trying to cool. So only for like the reactor and the engine, which get very, very, very hot, do we want like fancy radiators that operate at extreme temperature. In order to do this, we don't just use panels that get really hot. We do some really fancy things. Because we also want to maximize surface area, right? Because the more surface area there is to radiate away heat. So, I'm going to open yet another... The first fancy radiator concept I want to talk about is liquid droplet radiators. So space is empty, right?
Yeah.
This means if you have a little droplet of a liquid and you send it off in a direction, it just goes
keeps going.
perfectly in that direction, right?
Yeah.
The fun
There's
thing
no
about
gravity.
this is that means we can send sheets of liquid in space without having anything containing them. We don't need walls because they're just going in a straight line. So what we can do is we have one little arm. That is, we call it the generator, the like droplet generator. That shoots out a bunch of liquid droplets. I draw them as like individual droplets for like demonstration purposes, but like this would really be a thick sheet of droplets, right? Like it would look like a
Water
continuous sheet of droplets. That then gets picked up by a collector. These droplets, by the way, are not water or ammonia or anything like that. They are molten tin.
Oh,
Yeah, molten tin metal at like over 1,000 degrees Celsius.
hot.
Because our reactor and engine are very hot, we can just pipe this molten tin past them to pick up all that excess heat and carry it out into space, where you shoot them over to the collector, and as they're traveling, they all radiate out in all directions and lose a bunch of their heat before being collected, and then you can circulate them back and they heat up again, right?
Oh.
This means it would experience acceleration from the engine, though, right? Yes, this is another reason why we can't turn very much. Luckily, tin retains some of its magnetic properties when it's in molten form, so we can use the magnetic field to help ensure that even when the ship is turning a little bit, we can still collect the droplets. But this is another reason why the ship can't turn very fast. So do you understand this page?
Yeah. So if I'm understanding correctly, we're taking the heat from the ship to put into the generator. The generator sends out the molten tin. The molten tin cools down as it travels back towards a collector at the end of the ship to be grabbed, collected, and recycled back in for more further cooling.
Yeah. And so,
Okay.
obviously, since this is molten tin, it's like red hot, right? So you have like a red hot sheet of liquid flowing between the generator and collector.
Okay.
Which is obviously really cool looking, just thinking about it. And this can be much smaller for way more heat than our simple panel radiators.
Fuck my arm.
So instead of those absurdly gigantic, much larger than the rest of the ship, panel radiators we need something like, say, this for the liquid droplet radiator.
It's much smaller and more efficient.
Just to cool the, like, on both sides, maybe a couple more spread out, just to cool the engines. Now, the thing is, since these are little arms sticking out, they are obviously very vulnerable in combat. Which is kind of a problem, because we need them to be operating. Well, no, let me actually leave that there, just because this is just the demonstration figure.
Just slurp them in.
So we still do need high temp. So while liquid droplet radiators are probably the best option for high temperature radiators in general, we have a problem that they're very vulnerable in combat if they're deployed. I'll be getting to that, Plink. Like, more generally, how space combat works. So, if we're being shot at, we probably want to fold them in. But then if we're relying on them entirely for cooling the reactor and engine, then we can't use the reactor and engine, which is a problem. But there's another type of radiator we can use.
Oh? What is this new type of radiator?
Which we'll probably use in addition to liquid droplet radiators instead of totally repairing it. Cobalt dust radiator? Exactly, actually.
Cobalt dust?
So, here's the thing about ferromagnetic materials. That is stuff like iron that is attracted to magnets but isn't a magnet itself. But let me get some water because my throat's dry.
Take your time.
Yes, that's one solution, Plink, is to store the heat in like a heat sink. But here's another one. This is a radiator that's much easier to protect, although it's not as good as a liquid liquid droplet radiator. So, when something ferromagnetic gets really, really hot, it depends on the thing we're talking about. We want to do cobalt here because it gets really, really hot and it passes a temperature called its Curie point. It loses its ferromagnetic properties. And so it's no longer attracted to magnets, right, Paige?
Right.
So, here's the thing. If we make dust particles sufficiently small, it flows like a liquid. We can, like, pump it, right?
Yeah.
And if we have really hot dust past its Curie point, it's no longer attracted to magnets, right?
Yeah.
So what if we, as our coolant, use some really hot cobalt dust? When it's passing by the reactor and engine, it gets so hot it gets past its Curie point, and we yeet it out into space with like a little fountain. And we're like spewing out dust. We're spewing out hot dust. Hot cobalt dust. as it cools from being out there in space in radiation, it falls back below the Curie point and is attracted to magnets again. So we have a big-ass magnet below our little fountain, and the cooler dust gets pulled back in.
Oh. That's fucking clever.
Yeah, and since this is a little fountain that's just a hole in the side of the ship, this is much easier to protect. Wouldn't that still be messed up by the acceleration of the ship? It would, but less than the liquid droplet radiator because the magnets are pulling stuff back in.
I mean, we can also account in for the fact that we're going to have shield generators and all that for the sake of protections.
Well, we
But
could,
once
or we
those
could
shields
just have
go down,
armor.
we got to worry about hull damage.
We could just have armor, though, also.
Well, yeah, but let me have some form of magic in my own campaign setting. God damn it!
Yeah, you can. I like armor, though. Armor is fun.
We'll have
relying on
both.
armor.
We'll have both.
Yeah, okay. Actually,
Once
there's
the
a
shields go down,
semi-realistic
you gotta
form
have
of
the armor to
shielding.
protect the fucking hull.
Form of quote-unquote energy shielding you could use versus particle weapons specifically, where you have like a plasma screen that absorbs some of the energy from the particle beam. But whatever. We'll get to that later.
Yeah, what if the enemy ship shoots a giant magic bullet at us with their magic cannon? What do you think about that?
Anyways, so we can have Curie point radiators too. These aren't as like efficient as liquid droplet radiators. So it might be difficult to like cool the ship on Curie point radiators alone. So we might have both, a mixture of both. And a civilian ship is definitely going to have only liquid droplet radiators. Those are two main kinds of radiator. There are other high temperature radiators, but these are the two main ones that we care about. To keep the ship cool. As you can see, both those types of radiators are actually on the like one ship design from Salmon that's inspiring me a lot. Like you can see the sheets from the liquid droplet radiators and the little smokestacks of the Curie point radiators. I love Salmon's art so much. Well, we don't need them to be like fully redundant. Like the liquid droplet radiators only need to pick up the slack that the Curie point radiators aren't also doing. But yeah, we have a trade-off. One of the things I actually suggested with first space combat was making like managing the ship's heat be important, because like you can either turn on more radiators and expose them to damage, or like have to turn off systems to not have to deal with the heat they generate. For example. Into drawing spaceships, honestly, which is a more realistic version of the like allocate all power to shields stuff you hear in like Star Trek. Right, Paige?
Yeah.
Having to manage what generates heat and what doesn't, and how you get rid of the heat.
Yeah, I'm picking up now. So ideally, you want to have like a mix of both.
Mm-hmm. For a military ship, at least.
One for safety, one for efficiency.
Yes.
The downside of more fuel and energy and stuff is cost, and this is fantasy where the budget is high as I want. Yeah.
Hold on, let me iterate through this and like make sure they're all saved.
Like, especially because we're playing in Fabula Ultima, where you do not have to account for resources. There is literally a subsystem in Fabula Ultima that, so long as you have the inventory points for it, and it's not completely out of the question, you just have it in your inventory. You never run out of health potions. You never run out of mana potions. You just run out of time to access your inventory. And you can always get more inventory points by mugging a motherfucker or by discoveries.
So, the next topic, of course, is the real fun one, which is weapons. So first, let's talk about
Let me closer
unguided...
to the enemy ship. I wish to hit them with my sword.
Let's talk about unguided kinetic weapons first. More specifically,
Bullet.
why they don't make any sense.
Bullet.
So, the thing about space combat... Oh no, I'll get to UREBs.
Bullet.
But hold on. The thing is, even a very simple missile can hit an enemy ship that's like a light second away, which is like the distance between Earth and Moon, right? So that establishes that combat is going to take place at very long ranges. Which, I mean, it lets you... Which, like, some people object to because it means you can't see the other ship, but it's not like your ship will have windows in the first place. And, it also means you can use, like, planets as terrain in combat. And stuff. Not necessarily Boma, especially not with an engine we have. We can absolutely maneuver at light-second distances. So, the problem with unguided projectiles in space. You can estimate where the enemy is going to be, right? Like, lead the target and so on?
Yeah.
The problem is that the enemy ship, we're just going to draw it as a cone, can just fire its RCS thrusters a little at random intervals.
Highly unpredictable.
An enormous probability space for where the enemy ship could be when the unguided kinetic projectile would actually intersect it. It therefore becomes basically unfeasible to, like, hit the enemy ship with a normal bullet at these ranges. Which some people will say restricts you to lasers and missiles. Like lasers and guided missiles. But there is something we can replace kinetics with, actually.
Yeah.
Spaceship size shotgun.
Macro particle. Accelerator?
Dust cannon? Yeah, that's another name for it. Dust cannon, sandblaster, macron gun. So here's the funny thing. You know how, oh no, we're going to nuke Shadow Sun. We'll get to that. So, you know how a balloon, when you like rub it on your hair, builds up static charge and can stick to your hair, right?
Yeah.
This is because the static charge on an object...
Oh my god, Plink. Oh my fucking god.
Oh my god, Super Blink. So the static charge on an object, let's say it's a negative charge, is on the object's surface and is proportional to the surface area of the object, right? A balloon, when it's blown up, it's very, very thin. So it has a whole lot of surface area and not a lot of mass. And that's how it's holding enough static charge to stick to your head. Right? Got it, Paige?
So far, yeah.
You know about the square cube law, right?
No, I don't.
Okay, so if we have the length of an object is doubled, so if we have the length of an object is doubled, then the area of the object is times 4, and the volume of the object is times 8 relatively. We call this the square cube law because when the length increases linearly, the area increases by the square, and the volume increases by the cube, right?
Oh, I understand now.
So,
For example,
The
3, 9, 27.
the larger an object is, the more volume it has in comparison to its area, even if it's the same shape. The converse of that is, the smaller an object is, the more area it has relative to its volume, and therefore its mass.
Oh, I almost forgot. I have to take my medicines.
Oh, you should do that.
I just had to notice on my phone. Eat your medicines, people.
Let me pour myself some water.
I'll start off with my I'll start off with this. Gotta take my anti-anxiety med.
Why is my tracking failing all of a sudden? That's so weird. I think because I have so many things open in GIMP, actually, probably. Let me close some of this.
It could also
Yeah, I
be
think
the VTube Studio collab feature because sometimes it causes lag.
Possibly, yeah.
Quite frankly, I blame the economy for this.
Anyways, Paige.
Yes.
So if we make an object really small, it can hold a lot of static charge.
Right.
So what if we make a narrow little cylinder that is somewhere on the order of like say like maybe 0.5 millimeter thick.
Okay.
And most of it is hollow too. That is a lot of surface area in comparison to mass, and it can hold a very large static charge. In fact, such small objects holding a bunch of static charge is why dust sticks to things.
Okay. I'm following so far.
We can then stuff this in an electrostatic accelerator and accelerate it to an absurd velocity.
Huh.
In fact, we use like a stream of electrons moving past it.
Okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Or other particles to drag it along with because of the charge.
Yeah, I'm picking
At
up what you're putting
extreme
down.
speeds. When I say extreme speeds, I mean in excess of 1,000 kilometers per second.
And this is just us shooting dust.
Yeah. Now suddenly
Boy, howdy,
the
does a
calculus
vacuum now have
about
some more worth?
now that concern about unguided projectiles just being too slow doesn't become so nearly as much of an issue, right?
Right.
Because not only is it going obscenely fast, it is also very, very tiny, so we can shoot a ton of these tiny darts
This is fucked up, man.
Here's
That's
a
fucked
funny thing, though. So this, like any other electrically propelled gun, is going to, like, all of its energy comes from the electricity we put into it, which means it's not necessarily really better at putting energy on a target than, say, a particle beam, while still requiring ammo, which would normally make it not all that great. But we could do something really funny.
Yeah?
Do you know how the atomic bomb... Do you know how the first atomic bomb they dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki worked?
No.
So, you had a little bit of plutonium shaped like this cylinder here, where there's like a little carve out in it. And then another little cylinder of plutonium that, using some chemical explosives, was slammed into there at very, very high speeds. The force of that contact, the force of that impact between the two pieces of plutonium was enough to compress it enough to start a fission chain reaction and cause a nuclear explosion. What do we take from this?
I don't know, teacher. I'm sorry.
If fissile material is traveling fast enough and impacts something, it compresses it enough to undergo nuclear fission.
Oh.
So what if on the tip of our very tiny dart, traveling at over 1,000 kilometers per second relative to its target,
Pause boom?
we put a little bit of plutonium?
Explosive nuclear bullets?
Yep. We get a tiny little nuclear explosion at the target.
Because why not? Okay. Wunderbar.
And suddenly, we are putting a lot more energy on the target than we are expending on electricity, which justifies our need to expend ammo for it, and not be as perfectly accurate as like a light speed particle accelerator or laser. And this is what substitutes for kinetic weapons in space. In fact, a Macron gun is probably going to look a lot like a normal gun, where you have, like, you know, a turret. With, like, barrels. It's just that the barrels are spewing out clouds of dust instead of that does at extreme velocities that does nuclear explosions when it hits things.
Okay, so when these darts of dust hit, they cause fission, but not nuclear explosions?
No, it is nuclear explosions. They're just very small nuclear explosions.
Oh, kind of like a mantis shrimp type of a thing. I see.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, if you guys don't know what the mantis shrimp and the pistol shrimp are, they're fucking cool.
Yeah, they are.
Imagine having the power to do some Mortal Kombat finisher shit on the motherfucker in real life.
Well, it wouldn't be like tiny bore barrels because, like, you actually would, like, inside the guns have, like, a ton of little accelerators to shoot a bunch at once. But yeah. It even looks like a kinetic gun.
Neat.
Mm-hmm. This is the one, so the next thing is, of course, lasers, which I'll get to.
Magic.
So everyone knows about lasers, right?
Yeah.
So,
Very few people know it's an acronym.
true. Light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation.
Yeah, laser is an acronym, Alchemist.
So the thing about lasers that are often forgot is that you can bounce them around with mirrors, right?
Yeah, because they're light.
So why have multiple laser weapons when we can have just one big laser generator? Somewhere in the ship.
I think I
probably
already
next
see
to
what
the
you're putting down,
reactor.
and I'm scared of you.
Probably next to the reactor. Like, this is our laser generator.
Chat help, she scares me.
And then on, like, the edges of the ship, we have our little laser turrets.
Laser circus.
And we just sort of can shoot them out from any turret we want. From the one generator. So we only have one laser weapon system. It just has a bunch of different apertures it can shoot out of.
Would that reduce its efficiency or power at all?
No! There are no trade-offs to doing this.
Oh. Why are we not funding this?
Well, we are. We are.
Oh.
There's a lot of money in laser weapon development.
Oh.
Art mirrors slightly imperfect. Well, but here you're using fancy dielectric mirrors. Also, another thing. Laser weapons look like cameras. The thing that actually shoots the laser. It looks like a camera. Not like a gun. Because you're focusing light the same way a camera does, right? Just in reverse. In fact, you can even use a laser aperture as a camera. What do you say, Paige? Because they sound like you got cut off.
Oh, I was finishing up my can of liquid death. Which, by the way, in case anyone is looking to get off soda or anything like that, try liquid death. It's flavored sparkling water. Let me put it to you simply. This flavor tastes like Dr. Pepper. Look at a can of Dr. Pepper. Total sugars, 40 grams. Can of liquid death, Dr. Pepper flavor, 2 grams of sugar.
Okay.
I lost 40 pounds this summer thanks to switching off of high fructose corn syrup.
That's cool. I need to lose a lot of weight too. So anyways.
Sorry, hashtag ad.
In fact, we don't even need these to be full turrets because we can just have like little lenses that only need a little bit of rotation on the hull to shoot in a bunch of directions.
At what point does the laser have a fall off in intensity because of distance?
It's gradual. So lasers being light, they have something called diffraction, and the way optical diffraction works is actually really complicated to explain, so I'm going to skip that. So we can basically just say that the size of the spot you're shining the laser on, that you can like maximally shine the laser on, just gets bigger and bigger the further away it is. So the laser is less focused. Right?
Yeah. Similar to a flashlight, where like the closer you point it towards a wall, the brighter the light seems, but the further you pull it away, the
You can do it further away the larger your aperture is, and the higher the frequency of the laser light.
Interesting.
So, like, if you have like ultraviolet lasers, it does a phased array laser. Yes, you could do phased array lasers. I'm not going to get into that because it's really complicated. Even though phased array lasers are very cool, and I feel like the aesthetic would fit better with non-phased array lasers. Anyways, you can do it further away the larger the aperture is. So larger range lasers are going to demand bigger apertures. And also if the frequency of the light is higher, so going from like infrared to red to green to blue to ultraviolet, you can do it at a longer range, but it's also more expensive and less efficient the higher the frequency you do. So you can
Also,
trade
ads
range
coming.
for cost and power. Yeah, let's just let's just run the ads, and I'll take another bio break real quick.
Yeah, I'll just take a moment.
Because I've been drinking so much water to keep my throat from drying out. So I'll be right back.
Go piss, girl.
All right, Chad. While she's gone, I'm gonna need you to do me a big favor. I need you to complete a little secret mission for me. Can we get 5 gifted subs in honor of September? Maybe even a hype trade for the dear Doc Vivi Leandra.
I wonder how many people I just confused with that voice.
Solid snake.
I salute you, fellow insane voice range person. Oh, you have absolutely no idea.
Never turn again.
I'm so used to scaring the crap out of people with this.
So here's a God, no, I'll wait for the ads to be over. They're not quite over yet. Oh my God! Thank you for the gift subs,
Igneous
Igneous.
Sigil. Thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Did you know that it is currently September and you can get some subs on discount for all of September? Which you can also use these subs to help support this wonderful bean right here, Doc Vivi Leandra, and maybe even get a hype train going.
So one thing people often say about laser weapons is, oh, I could just like coat the thing in mirrors and then they'd bounce away. There's like you can bounce.
Yes, however,
lasers
if
with.
you focus it enough at a mirror, doesn't the mirror start to melt?
Exactly. So, oh my God! Thank you for even
all
more
things
gift
have a
subs.
fucking melting point.
So the thing is, the mirrors you're using to redirect the laser are very fancy dielectric mirrors that reflect like 99.99999 so on percent of a single very specific wavelength of light. In order to be able to reflect high power lasers. And they need to be kept extremely clean and not have any scratches in order to be able to do their job. Obviously, you cannot cover your ship in fancy dielectric mirrors that are for the exact wavelength your enemy's laser weapons use. That is just not feasible.
Yeah, it doesn't sound feasible.
If you use a mirror that isn't as efficient at reflecting that specific wavelength of light, what happens is it reflects the majority of the light, sure, but a little bit of the light is enough to heat it up to where the mirror is no longer reflective, and then it just bores through it the way it would bore through anything else. Oh my God! Even more gifted
Thank
subs.
you, Shadow Sun.
So mirrors don't work. Mirrors do not work. They do not protect your shit from lasers. You can use mirrors to redirect your own lasers to like aim them out of different points and to focus them using parabolic mirrors. You cannot reflect an enemy laser with mirrors.
You can't parry this, you filthy casual.
Parry this, you filthy casual.
This goddamn bread is stealing all my money. Oh my God, Shadow. Another thing is the way we do laser weapons when we're able to do high-tech assumptions is we don't just make them heat things up, right?
Right.
We do it as like a series of pulses. So rather than a single beam, it's like discrete bunches of photons. And these, without any time for the heat to spread through the material, when it's like a bunch of laser energy over like less than a microsecond of time, it just makes the outside, like the very surface layer of the thing it hits, turn into a very hot, very angry gas that then pushes against it and mechanically deforms the rest of what it's
Hot
hitting.
and angry gas.
So you can sort of drill through things that way with a laser.
Huh.
It like punches through it. Sort of like how a water jet punches through things.
I was gonna make the comparison.
Yeah. Except instead of a jet of water, it's the gas being generated on target.
Neat.
It's a rapid series of very tiny explosions. Exactly, Vixen. Another thing we can do with lasers is, and this is even beyond the range at which we can be effective because the spot size has expanded so much, is we can just use it to heat up the target. Because spaceships struggle to manage heat, like I just told you.
Yeah.
If you just heat them up with a laser, they're going to have to start turning off systems so they don't cook themselves.
Oh, that would be bad.
So you can use a laser to effectively suppress an enemy ship. Which is an interesting idea for combat, is forcing them to switch off systems to keep their heat low because of the laser radiation.
It's mean. That's just mean. I'll say what we're all thinking. That's a dick move.
Oh yeah, UREBs are fun, and I'm just about to get to them, actually. I think that's enough with lasers, and you understand the important parts of lasers.
Laser's good for heat and pissing people off.
So, a particle beam is just a particle accelerator, right? It's a particle accelerator that's been weaponized.
Yeah.
There are two main kinds of particle accelerator, which we'll be using for two main kinds of weaponized particle beams. The first, and the far less scary but also easier to put on a ship version, is a proton beam. This is obviously, well, a series of protons in a beam, right? And we're using an accelerator to do it. We can use a circular accelerator, which God, I forget what the term for that is, but basically it's just a tube that goes around in a circle, and they're sort of like going through the track to accelerate over time. Cyclotron, yeah. And then are let out at a certain point when they've gotten fast enough, right?
Cyclotron sounds like a Decepticon. Sorry, complete aside there.
Yeah, I think it's called a cyclotron. I think that is correct. But yeah, we use this circular accelerator to accelerate a beam of protons up. This accelerator has to be kind of big. It has to be like a couple dozen meters across. We can put it in a ship turret, but it'd have to be a big turret. And as these like bunches of particles go, because they're all like charged, they kind of push each other apart. Which means it loses effect over distance pretty fast. We can eliminate this a little bit by injecting some electrons into the stream, but it still does expand. So while this would make for a very powerful weapon, like it's much more electrically efficient than a laser in terms of a beam on target, and it like damages in a much better mechanism where it like heats through the target until it explodes in a pulse. It's rather short range compared to even macron accelerators, right?
Okay.
Yes, Paige?
I'm picking up what you're putting down so far.
Yeah, so quite short range weapon, but very devastating. Not only does it cause an explosion at the target, cause a big explosion at the target when it pulses, that goes through the target. It also generates electric currents in the target, which fuck up electrical systems, and also scatters some radiation everywhere so people can die of radiation sickness.
Wonderful.
On the target.
Great, my favorite.
Although it's not that aggressive for the proton beam. The electron beam
The druid of the gaze. I am so lost, but so
is
entertained.
much
Same here.
scarier, but much more difficult. So we can't put electrons in a cyclotron, right?
Why is that?
Not if we want to give them a lot of energy. This is because electrons are a tiny portion of the mass of a proton, right?
Right.
They are very small particles, and that means for a given energy, they are going much faster. When a particle changes directions, it experiences something called Bremsstrahlung, which is German for literally
Isn't it?
braking radiation, like braking as in like your car's brakes. Where when it changes direction, where like when an electron that's going very fast changes direction, much of the kinetic energy gets turned into electromagnetic radiation going in the same direction it was going. So if you try and curve an electron beam, it loses all of its energy. Right?
Yeah.
So in order to do an electron beam, we need a LINAC, or a linear accelerator, which is a very long tube.
Long tube. Sorry. But not really.
So you kind of have to like spinal mount this on a ship facing forward because it'll be like the length of the whole ship.
Oh.
But on the other hand, this electron beam is very scary. So you know
in
how
what
charged
way?
particles... what page?
In what way? Why is it so scary?
Okay, so first, you know how these charged particles repel each other?
Yeah?
Well, their repulsion is over time, right?
Yeah?
What happens when things go at a very high percentage of the speed of light?
They...
Time slows down.
Oh.
Because electrons have so little mass, if we give them an energy in, say, the gigavolts, we are going at something like...
Terrifying.
of the speed of light. This means we have a gamma, which is the amount of time, which is the factor of time dilation of basically yes. So these electrons, as they're traveling, don't experience barely any time, meaning they don't expand because there's no time for it to happen. These just keep traveling in a tightly collimated beam for light minutes. If you have enough pointing accuracy on this, you could hit something on the other side of a star system. You don't have enough pointing accuracy, though. That's just not realistic to have that much. You can probably only hit something within a light second.
Oh.
But that's still really long. That's the distance between the Earth and the Moon.
Yes, it's... Jesus!
Not only does it have such absurd range because of the lack of electrostatic expansion, because the particles have so much energy,
Do they just disintegrate things on contact, or what?
no. If a wall is too thin, they only deposit part of their energy in it.
And that is...
Here's the thing. You might think if they're going through and depositing only part of their energy, that's not that scary, right? Because then they wouldn't be
Right.
heating it up that much. But when an electron at this energy deposits, it deposits part of its energy. Bremsstrahlung happens. Because its velocity has been changed. The kinetic energy it deposits becomes electromagnetic radiation. In particular, a single photon. A single photon with enormous energy is gamma radiation. Meaning it showers the inside of the ship with gamma radiation.
This feels like a war crime in space waiting to happen. Like,
You need...
nope, it's worse. Great. Wonderful.
You need a full meter of tungsten alloy
We're definitely not having any of this
to
shit.
stop an ultra relativistic electron beam. Just to fully absorb it, and then it's also going to damage the armor by heating it up. Oh yeah, radiation fucks up computers as much as it fucks up people.
I love the tasty, tasty cancer beam.
It's not a
yummy,
cancer
yummy
beam.
Cancer beam.
It's a very fast death from acute radiation sickness beam.
Yummy cancer beam.
Your cells would simply stop functioning from the amount of gamma radiation almost immediately.
Oh. Weaponized demon core. Great.
Yeah.
Weaponized demon core on crack, even.
Yeah, if you get like a partial exposure to it, it's like actually a horrible or genuinely horrific way to die. But if you're exposed to a lot of the radiation from it, you just go unconscious instantly. Not alive long enough to get cancer? Exactly. Keep traveling after going through the target. So here's the thing. Because going through something like kind of scatters it a little, if it hits something, it won't really have much power if it's hitting something further on that's, say, a kilometer or a few behind it. Right? Because it gets scattered.
Correct.
Which means one protection from this is just to have, like, little, like, walls between you and the target. You could theoretically do. But yeah, you need to armor a ship really heavily to like not get blasted by radiation from an ultra relativistic electron beam like this. So, this is your terrifying spinal weapon. That you can put in a ship.
Huh.
Isn't that fun? And by the way, when I say
Terrifying.
a very long tube, I mean like the several hundred meters long.
If I knew exactly what it was, and we had any inclination as to that might be on an enemy ship, it would be shoot that thing first.
Yeah.
Shoot the weapons out
That
first.
sounds fine. But yeah, so electron beams. Terrifying. But also very hard to mount on something. And also, you can't bend the beam at all, so this whole ship has to be pointed at the target. And that makes it really difficult to actually, like, aim it at, like, an appreciable distance. And it's why you end up effectively limited to within a light second. We're still talking about weapons, and I just described electron beams. Yeah, you have to point the whole ship, and the ship turns slowly, and you have to point the ship accurately enough. Which, again, will realistically limit you to, like, a range of about a light second. I mean, yeah, the engine will destroy anything remotely nearby when it's operating. It's fucking nuclear bombs. The ship is surfing on nuclear bombs. You can just turn the engine towards something sufficiently close, and it will fucking obliterate it. Go read the Kazinti lesson.
So what's next on our lesson?
Anyways, what I just referenced, the Kazinti lesson is a famous hard sci-fi book where an alien race attacks humanity who by that point has a single world government and hasn't fought a war in hundreds of years and therefore has no weapons on their spaceships.
Oh.
But human spaceships use extremely powerful nuclear engines, and the humans almost immediately realize that they can just point the engine at the invading aliens. It's a really good short story. And so you just point the engine, and the engine fucking obliterates them.
My favorite sci-fi book meme is, at last, we finally invented the Torment Nexus from the famous sci-fi novel, Don't Invent the Torment Nexus.
So our next big weapon topic is, of course, missiles.
Oh,
I think...
How much more of the lesson is there? Because I do have to,
Oh, I'm aware.
jet to.
Not much longer.
I don't want to rush.
Yeah,
But my
this
brain
is
is
the
also
last
starting to fly.
spaceship-related thing I wanted to talk about was missiles.
I'm eager to hear about this.
There's other hard sci-fi stuff I want to talk about with like space stations and planets, but we do that on a different stream if we did.
How do missiles work when they explode when explosions don't really work in space?
I was just
There's
about
no
to get to
shockwave.
that. They don't. Remember,
Oh.
in space, there's no drag. You're just accelerating. You just keep accelerating. By the time you actually reach the enemy ship, you're going at dozens, if not hundreds of kilometers per second. Don't put a warhead. Just put a tungsten rod.
Is this a case of shrapnel?
You
Rather
can
than
use
explosion?
you can use shrapnel, or you can just have a big rod that slams into the enemy ship inside the missile. Or even a bunch of
Yeah.
rods that get separated out.
I love penetrating the enemy ship with my thick rod.
In fact, maneuvering in space is very favorable to missiles. Because the missile only needs to go one way. So we can stage it like a one-use rocket. such that it uses up the fuel in stages, and then there's the big rod at the end. Or a bunch of big rods. And in fact, we don't need our missiles to even be aerodynamic. So in order to fit them in cells better, they're probably square. Or hexagonal. Our space missiles are. Although they are probably still long and narrow and probably still tapered to a point to make it harder for radar and stuff to see them from a distance. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they can be hexagonal too. Just yeeting a tungsten cube at enemies? Yeah, that's pretty much what you're doing with missiles here.
I'm being good, I'm being good, I'm being good, I'm being good. Yeah,
you can
you?
You can also fill them with inflatable decoys that pop out that have radar and infrared signatures similar to the actual missiles, so that they're hard to tell. This is something real-world intercontinental ballistic missiles use, is inflatable decoys that have similar signatures to the missile itself, to the warhead. For an inflatable, goddammit. And while on a normal missile, you'll probably just have a normal chemical engine, which is fine because it has much more thrust than a nuclear engine. And at like a decent and like ranges we'd be going at, which is like a couple light seconds for a missile, you can probably smash into it. Oh, I should show you Savages. That one's really good.
Show me what?
It's a Chinese indie animated hard sci-fi action short movie. It's only about 20 minutes long. I'll probably show you after this. Even though it's no more near future than what we're going for. The other option, besides having like little chemical engine missiles that are aggressively staged and have like a kinetic warhead, is we could just put a nuke on the end. We can make nukes pretty small. The minimum size for a nuke is about 20 kilograms, which is still pretty big, but... and demands a decently sized missile, but... you know. Because while there's no explosive shockwaves in space, a nuclear explosion still generates a huge shower of radiation and heat that will, like, heat the surface of the enemy ship to the point where it explodes. So, like, we have our, like, nuclear bomb and it just shoots out radiation. In fact, we can do something, like, really funny called a nuclear-shaped charge. Which, like, the exact mechanisms, and I'm not going to draw a Kasaba howitzer, just know they're shaped vaguely like this. And let's get the nuclear symbol on there just for... which directs most of the energy of the nuclear warhead out in one direction. In a beam. And that means the nuke can explode, like, quite a bit of distance from the enemy spacecraft and still destroy it. Though, again, this is what's called a Kasaba howitzer. Kasaba, like the melon. I forget why it's named after the melon, but...
yeah, I'm seeing tungsten get used a lot.
Anything we use tungsten in? Yeah, because it's got decent structural integrity, it's good at absorbing radiation, and it has a very, very high melting point. So it's very useful in space. Yeah, we're just using like a tungsten liner to direct the energy in a Kasaba howitzer. Anyways, this kind of Kasaba howitzer charge is like the size of a person. So we do need a big missile to put it on. We can't really spam Kasaba howitzer missiles except on the largest ships. So these would be like your big anti-ship torpedoes, basically. Right, Paige?
Yeah.
Another thing is, if our missiles are sufficiently big and we want them to be long enough range, we can put a nuclear engine on them. Probably a nuclear thermal engine, because again, it's one way. And nuclear thermal engines are the nuclear engines we can make the smallest. If we do that, we really want to yeet the missile away from the ship before it turns on its engine so we don't irradiate ourselves. So we probably have like a torpedo tube on the ship that's just a coil gun. That yeets out our big nuclear missile to get a few kilometers away before we turn its engine on.
For very long-range missiles, accelerate them with your own laser.
You can do that. You can just put a plate of
You can
graphite.
actually do that?
Yeah, put a plate of graphite at the bottom of the missile. The laser shoots it. As the graphite ablates away, it propels the missile forwards.
Oh my god.
The more I hear about this kind of stuff, the more I am convinced that we really are orcs from the 40k universe.
That's also a way you can put stuff in space that's like seriously proposed, is to build big ass lasers that just ablate graphite at the base of a payload to launch it into space. It's not a terrible idea to use open cycle engines for missiles specifically. Yes, an open cycle nuclear engine is one where the nuclear fuel is actually coming out of the back. Nuclear fuel and nuclear waste is actually coming out of the back of the rocket, instead of safely contained inside. So it's kind of spewing nuclear waste, but like no one cares if you put some fucking nuclear waste in orbit. Unless you're close enough to a planet, it might fall into the planet. Other things with missiles. Oh yeah. Lasers are probably your best option for shooting down missiles.
That makes
because
sense.
obviously they're super accurate. And missiles are not nearly as durable as an enemy spaceship. If we go back to the lasers for the second, in fact, lasers are probably not very good at destroying enemy ships in general, unless you design a ship around a laser. For another reason, which is, I mentioned how ships have trouble dealing with heat. Lasers generate a lot of heat. They get very, very hot when they're in operation.
I would imagine so.
So you need like even more radiators to deal with the laser heat. That is an advantage in space, but it's not as much of an advantage. It's mostly just that because you're at such ranges, you need guidance to actually hit them with something that's not going at absurd speeds.
Okay. Oh.
This is, I think, basically all the stuff I wanted to talk about. However, before we go, someone mentioned Savage's The Battle of Psyche, which I want to show you.
Yes.
It's a more near future hard sci-fi than what we're going for, but it's a hard sci-fi space battle. Short film that's like 15 minutes long.
Sure. I can watch it later.
Well, no, I wanted to show it to you on stream.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say
Let me stop sharing GIMP and start sharing the... And also switch my window capture over to... Turn my BGM off, turn desktop audio capture on. Also, it's in Chinese. I should change where you are so people can actually see the subtitles on stream. Let me move you there and then maybe move myself in front. Can I move myself in front? No. I can just make us really small. Hi, Mithril. I'm showing Paige indie sci-fi animation.
数字资料分配完毕，就由你脱离。
That is hard sci-fi.
可以脱离。小 Sorry， 顺便汇报一下你和米卡小姐的进展。
These ships are using nuclear thermal engines.
还差一脚啊！你们这群小八年都干什么去了？
And you can see the radiators on them, like the wings.
是训
Yeah.
练不过关呢。
哼，千子，您这么打趣 Sari 上尉，就不怕他的上将父亲才让你多写企业报告吗？
No, this is kind of like in the vein of Lunar War, but it's a different project. I'll put the name in the chat and pin it.
允许推进任务至下一阶段，电令已授权摧毁任务区域内的所有造势性军队目标。开火许可已下发，清理在轨传感器后轨道下降至拐三。
Remember how I said space missiles don't need to be shaped like missiles on Earth?
Oh.
Oh my god.
Oh. 前指，我们丢失了大部分的轨道区域，完全失去红外动摇动能。目前仅剩2颗立方星云可运作，我攻击性已授权摧毁各自目标。何必？
提前明白，无暇升级事态吧。就你允许开机压制敌舰队。
This is what I talked about with laser suppression.
布设回去就行。有你收到。
Oh, that's so cool.
战斗中，
Yeah!
敌舰队姿态准备降轨。
And of course you can't see the laser beam because there's no atmosphere to bounce it around. So it's just the glow from the aperture and the glow on target.
敌军开启电磁干扰，目前正在降轨。他们受不了我们的压制了，想躲到天体阴影区后边。
心灵蛋子都给我安静点！前指，敌方将于1小时30分后进入天体阴影区。我认为应该立刻投放一枚飞跃卫星进行侦察。
先不急，阴影区维持的时间有限，完成降轨。
Oh yeah, because they're using low thrust nuclear
等
thermals.
他
So
不
this
完成
battle
启
takes
动
place over like a
我
week.
们的捕射卫星早就到位了。更何况他们现在完全失去了监测能力，应该不会轻举妄动。
I could not imagine sitting through a week-long battle and
They have
just
drugs.
peacefully being
They have
able-
drugs. They show they have drugs to keep them up for that long.
I was gonna say, like, to be able to peacefully go to sleep and, like, eat and all that, be like, yeah.
舰长，他们多花费了几百米每秒的低维快速降轨了。
旗舰，荣荣女将，请求批准使用飞跃卫星。
旗舰明白，现批准使用飞跃卫星，命已鉴于3小时后投放。
荣荣女收到，3小时后投放。
So what is with the, like, roughly gold paper kind of plating on them? Is that just, like...
Oh! That's to keep it cold so it's hard for the sensors to see. Because remember in space the only heat comes from radiation, right? That foil is an infrared mirror.
Oh!
In fact, it's a bunch
okay.
of layers of infrared mirrors
I never knew that.
to keep the thing from getting hot
通报舰队，
from like sunlight and stuff.
投放一批次导弹进入高倾角进攻轨道，1小时18分后抵达预定攻击位置，轨道数据已发送完毕。
Of course, they were wrong about it having anti-ship capabilities. Of course, these missiles are more familiarly shaped.
Space still goes. Terrifying sight. Perfect ring of
Yeah.
missiles.
接观测站数据，观测到消极甲烷扩散云信号，推测发射时间约10分钟前，方向北天球。
继续信号比对分析，正面分配剩余可用功率，搜索北天球。
舰队执行规避机动，成员层准备降压，全体都有，立刻换装。重复一遍。立刻
Oh
换
yeah,
装
they're putting on spacesuits and depressurizing the interior of the ship so it doesn't explosively decompress if pierced.
有望收到，允许击落。1分钟后冲出天体阴影区，已见确认导弹挂架状态。部长明白，允许30分钟后命中。
And you can see their engines are off, but they're still swinging by in orbit, of course. God, the missiles. Also, since this is near future, they do actually use kinetics. Although they don't do all that much.
转换敌舰行动，导引头切换为反舰模式。保证确认敌单群入轨，是否需要改变下次脱离阴影区的轨道？不需要，正常交会。在进入阴影区前，保持最
By music, he means electromagnetic jamming.
在敌舰不间断的干扰下，过去40分钟内，我们截获了2种共92个目标。和委员预警的判读结果对比，应当上
Oh, you can notice that because they don't have gravity in there, the bridge has like 2 floors and they're like head to head.
32枚。
了解。雷达主
Yeah.
截获距离缩短确实
Confusing.
剩下的
But cool.
影响不大，尽量给北天球的搜索多分配雷达资源。之前的信号我有些疑虑。
And what I mentioned about drugs.
方案已收到，批准。各部门做好拦截准备。两件数据已同步，目标基因跟踪任务完成，击空火控目标再度完成，局方器已进入疫苗位置。新目标已确认，1三型60枚，5型40枚。雷达进入反导作战模式，提高迎敌正面空光外冲占比。低位接取主任务波段前往为 S 波段，把虎王雷达导弹固定过去，切换至主任务波段协助作战。
张罗令，末端接战后，空运搜索任务全部由我舰承担。已见尽可能在雷达上节约功率，全力过载运行近防激光器。
God, that's so cool. Also, you can see the laser picking off missiles.
That's so cool, actually.
It is!
Fuck you and fuck you and fuck you and fuck you.
And the missile's spinning to effectively reduce the laser spot size.
报告，发现高整个轨道，进攻弹群，目标相对速度3.5公里每秒，重大威胁。我舰凝视阵列，无法稳定截获目标，请求拟舰光学系统查验，一旦表面温度仅108度，一旦具备主动冷却能力。
Remember what I said about inflatable decoys?
Oh.
敌方目标效率中存在大量差异，需要建立诱饵，正在验证诱饵，信息已上传至数据页。一批拦截弹
It is weird seeing like all these projectiles intercept each other and just stop without explosions, which I know.
Yeah. Because they're all
Like,
kinetic.
Right, but it's just a lack of spectacle. Exactly, Jers. The lack of explosion makes it so much more fucking terrifying.
It does, yeah.
And the lack of sound, too.
Yeah. I pinned it, Alk. Yes, they are, Delta.
For our campaign, we're definitely not going to have any sections like this for space combat. It's going to be more spectacle and magical.
Yeah, of course. But this is really cool, though, right?
Oh, yeah, it is. It is. I'm not in the business of making myself have anxiety.
Well, it's not really stealth mithril because it's really hard to hide an actual and the missiles as they're pleading for surrender. Also, this is a space station with centrifugal gravity. As you can see, the view of the planet is spinning in the background. And look, the Newton's cradle is swinging slightly further to one side than the other because of the centrifugal gravity. That's such a cool touch.
It's subtle.
Anyways, this is the first battle Psyche Space Suji Savages. Yeah, it's really good. I wholly recommend you watch this yourselves. Thank you for the follow. My name is Jers. Yeah, this is also more near future. Hard sci-fi space combat in like the far future would be more spectacular with like nuclear explosions and stuff, and engines that can do way more maneuvering and not take like a week to do a battle. Right, Paige?
Yeah. Huh.
But yeah, God, I love that. It's the standard thing I show people, like hard sci-fi space combat, and especially near future-ish. It's very eerie and tense, yes. I love how the tension just builds and builds as the missiles get closer and closer. Anyways, Paige, you needed to head out?
I do have to get some dinner prepared for tonight. I'm in charge of dinner tonight.
Oh, understandable.
Make some quesadillas. Thank
Well,
you for having
not,
me, Vivi. What?
Yeah, you're not streaming until later tonight, right? Like around 6?
I'm not going to be streaming at all tonight. I'm going to be joining a friend on their stream later tonight.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. So I wouldn't be able to raid that. I think I'm going to keep streaming. I'm going to play a game probably.
Yeah.
But I am so happy to have you, and I was so happy to get this chance to yap at length about spaceships.
Oh yeah, I'm hoping I'm going to be able to do my Deltarune thing with Sky, Hulky, and Renzi tomorrow, and hopefully this coming week I'll be okay. Normally, when I get my vaccines, I get the full effects of the side effects. So I'll probably have like a little bit of a high fever day sometime in the coming week.
Also, yeah, Bohm says a good thing. It's a good example of stealth not hiding your ship, but lying about your ship is in your tension star. Oh, I forgot to mention a thing. You know that engine and how it's nuclear bombs, right?
Yeah.
So if the ship is within like quite a long distance of the planet, like to the point like a significant portion of the solar system of a planet, the people on the surface of the planet will be able to see it in the night sky as a particularly dim star.
Oh.
Because it's so bright when the engine is running. So if you're in like a busy system, you'd see like ships moving across the sky from across the star system in the night sky. They'd be dim stars unless they're very close, but isn't that cool to think about?
Yeah. Oh, but thank you for having me tonight.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And I'm eager to yap more about this campaign and everything that's going to be happening soon.
Yeah, of course. Hey, have you ever had anxiety about being in space? What if there was gun? True, what if there was gun and laser and missile? Okay, so you're going to head out, Paige?
Yeah. I will see you guys later. And thank you so much for having me and teaching me about all this stuff.
What I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to play some Mechabellum because I'm craving it and I would like to stream some more.
I give you a big ol' smooch on the forehead and thank you for having me tonight.
Aw.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, Paige.
Bye-bye.
And there she goes. Now, before we switch to Mechabellum, I'm going to take a brief bio. I'm going to take like a brief bio break. In the meantime, I'm going to put some words on stream and run some ads. Hold on, let me run this. Paige is such a good friend. Okay. You can go ahead and play Words on Stream until I get back, which will be in a few minutes. I'm just gonna get some more water. I'm gonna run to a button and I'm gonna take a bio break. Be back in just a sec. And thank you for following Revenante. I have returned. You know what? I might as well bring my cables back. I'll let y'all finish this one level, and then we'll get to Mechabellum, like I wanted to stream. Let me check why I have so many pings on Discord real quick. All right. I'm gonna take us to just chatting for a moment. Mostly for anyone who's new here to see my really cool filter I have in my Just Chatting setup. Mechabellum sucks now that I've been matched against people who actually have brains. Oh, understandable. So how's everybody doing after that long-ass lecture? Let me, like, adjust my thing because I want to move my drawing tablet away. I didn't bring up solar sails because solar sails take incredibly long times to accelerate. Ah. Oh, wrong button. Oh, I forgot to drop words on stream. And change my category. Damn. No worry, Mithril. Okay, so if you've never seen Mechabellum before... Oh shit, I need to move myself right because of how Mechabellum's UI is laid out. I need to make myself a bit smaller, move myself, and I actually want to get rid of my cables here. This is an auto-battler game. You make little armies of robots and they fight. I picked it up like about a week ago and I've been like completely addicted to it since. So I'm gonna play it for a while on stream. Your grandparents' 55th marriage anniversary? Ooh, neat. These starter packs are not great. Maybe I take this and I take something to tank, like a sledge. Yeah, I think so. I like doing my void eyes like this. And the Mustangs, we want even further back. We need some kind of either chaff or tanky unit. The presence of marksman makes sledges unappetizing. So I might want to go a more straight up chaff unit like fangs, probably. Yeah, let's go fangs. Oh, I should move more of my forces over here. I think. Yeah, I went heavy into marksman. Which means it's good I didn't go into sledgehammers. I am definitely going to win here. Or not. I need that range upgrade on the Void Eyes really bad. And more chaff, too, of course. What do I pick here? Stormcallers? Yeah, I think so. In fact, I'll take another Stormcaller. They're quite good against marksmen and sledges. In the meantime, I'll pick up a few more fangs. We'll also slap a sentry missile down. I know they know I know bullshit, yes. Put a sentry missile here in case they flank. Oh, they went Wasp. That was a terrible idea. I have Mustangs. Mustangs are a very hard counter to Wasp. Look at this. I did lose on that side, but I won on this side, it looks like. They're shooting the walls instead of the marksmen. Unfortunate. And now my units are debuffed because one of my buildings got blown up. Okay, so I am going to lose, but just a little bit. And I definitely want more Void Eyes, I think. And the range upgrade for them. Fortified Mustang is really nice here. Anyways, range enhancement for the Void Eyes, and then we're just going to buy more Void Eyes. And put another sentry missile over here in case they flank from there. Oh, they went Mustangs themselves. Interesting choice. They are good against fangs. But yeah, now the Void Eyes with their extended range are doing so much better. Yep, we won this round. Also, depending on how many units you have alive on the inner round, the enemy takes damage, and when the first one who hits 0 HP loses. I really like efficient tech research. Upgrade the Void Eyes who have enough experience to upgrade. I want extended range on the Mustangs next, I think. And on the Stormcallers. And I won't buy any new units, just that. Just those upgrades. They want more Mustangs to clear the Fangs more efficiently. Did he go for missile interception with his Mustangs? He did! Interesting choice. By interesting, I mean that's not necessarily a very good choice. Because it means that the Stormcallers will now distract the Mustangs from shooting at my guys. Even though it does stop the Stormcallers from doing much damage. That was close, so I don't do that much damage to him. For my build, advanced targeting system is fantastic. However, by the way, the other person gets the same options, so I am worried that he will use that nuke. So I'm going to buy some shields. And finally, I'll just put a sentry missile to where it will immediately target him. It looks like he did not pick up the nuke. Oh, I forgot they can intercept sentry missiles. Fuck. Oop. But this was a pretty overwhelming victory. Yeah, missile interception on Mustangs isn't very good. You usually want, like, something else that intercepts missiles. What do I want here? Phantom Rays are questionable when they have that many Mustangs. Arc Lights are really good against Mustangs. Sure. Upgrade. Upgrade. Get extended range on the Arc Lights. Buy a bit more chaff. Get the portable shield upgrade for the Fangs. Put some more chaff in the back. So that it will, like, wander forward and filter in as the battle goes on. He got more wasps. Oh, Vulcan is annoying. In terms of how well it kills my Fangs. Yeah, he's still just not doing nearly enough. Ah, Elite Crawler, Amplifying Core, Extended Range Phoenix. I'll take Amplifying Core and put it on the one arc light. Here. Yeah, it cleared a lot of Fangs, but I don't think it did all that much. I'm gonna get some more Void Eyes and put it further forward to hopefully get the Vulcan. In fact, place them while they're directly engaged almost immediately. And then to tide over as the other guys filter in, we'll put some more Fangs here-ish. We're gonna finally buy some tech upgrades. Buy the one that lets me recruit more, so I can put some more Fangs in over here. And then we'll get the other two upgrades. Oh, we got a Vulcan over there too. Oh, we got incendiary bombs. Damn. That's a good choice on his part. They still didn't target him, unfortunate. We still won, but not nearly as overwhelmingly, because this incendiary's overperformed. I think I want Farseer with photon emission because of the incendiaries. Borrow some money from next round to get another Farseer in with the photon emission. That makes the photon emission reduces the damage taken by units with it and disables negative status effects. And Farseer's photon emission thing gives everything nearby photon emission. See? Most of the discussion was just explaining just use nukes and tungsten? Yeah, it was. We almost lost on this side. But I think this is enough to kill him. Yep, we won. Cool. When in doubt, boring but practical wins, yeah. I find as you go up in MMR, you often like don't end up getting into like the fancy giant units all that much. AI generated PFPU. What do we have here? Rhino Specialist is extremely bad. This is actually an interesting one. What did they take? Void Eyes and Sledges. Interesting. There's a turret that shoots anti-personnel, so I don't really want to put my chaff up there up front. So I'm going to instead do it like this. Now, I want 4, actually. And then you want this here. And the single saber tooth over there to cover that. Oh, fuck. What did he do? Okay, just an even deployment. Oh, we also got arc lights, which aren't actually the best at clearing fangs. They're decent horde clear, but they're not good against. But they're not that great against fangs specifically because of the inertia shield they can get. Well, we lost on that side, but not on this side. We're probably going to win, though, because he only has a single sledgehammer left. And it'll probably get killed by the turret. Yeah, there we go. We won this round. Elite Tarantula, huh? I don't think we want that because he's not taking anything that tarantulas are really good at killing. I'll take intensive training because I can do something really funny. Which is double promote this Sabertooth. Put some fangs over there. We'll put a missile. In case he thinks to flank. What did he do? Charge shot on the Void Eyes. Interesting choice. I don't think it's a very good one. I really need extended range on the Sabertooth. I think the forces actually meet up outside the range of his turret, so I can probably afford to put some fangs over there to screen. Look at how little damage they do because of the rank difference. Redeployments. I will, over on this side, put the fangs further back. And the fire badgers in front of them. No, I won't. I'll definitely put the fangs further back, at least. That, and then I want... there, probably? A little bit further. Let me get extended range. I'll get some more fangs over here. Shit. I meant to put a sentry missile. Still doubling down on his current strategy. Ouch. He still overwhelmingly went over here. I really need personal shields for the fangs. Well, that's bad timing. Also, those Sabertooths have a lot of upgrades. Oh, but that's good timing. There we go. Ooh, Sandworm's a good option here. Put another Sabertooth over there and put the Sandworm there. Sandworm burrows underground when it's moving, making it untargetable. Which is really good against any army that depends on long-range units. It's also just generally very strong in the current meta. Oh, I don't have enough anti-air to deal with the phoenixes. That might screw me. As you can see, the sandworm is not targetable. Oh, but it took so much damage so fast as soon as it popped up. Rip. We still won pretty overwhelmingly over here. See ya, Alk. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna kill the phoenixes. That's the problem. We don't have enough anti-air. For phoenixes, I think the answer is marksman, which are also good counters to what he already has. It's like amplifying core and put in that. Oh, especially because he is flying on there. He can pick up, so we definitely want marksman. I placed that slightly wrong, I just noticed. Get aerial specialization, we'll take this so we can get another. And then get some techs. And we'll upgrade one to marksman. Yeah, he went on fangs. He went on phoenixes heavily. So the marksman should help shoot those down. As well as helping against his army, because it's a bunch of high health, small units. Single units. I need extended range on the marksman too. Because those went too far forward over there. Ah, he's walking ahead. No. Rip. Look at how much trouble they're having killing the fangs though, because they're single target. They're all single target. I'll take underground threat because I can do some funny stuff with it. Yeah, I think it's over here on this void eyes. Promote, upgrade all, promote. Get extended range for the marksman, and we need more chaff. I'll go ahead and buy enhanced range for this round. And then also a shield here. That was good because we put a sentry missile there. Damn. The Badgers here don't do a lot because he doesn't really have any swarm units. Oh, he's finally buying fangs. Interesting. But yeah, next I should probably get shields on them. That would be very strange if it was indeed the case, Gobble Influencer. I might just be delayed reactions because I'm thinking hard. Because I'm kind of like explaining what I'm doing after I do it. Like, yes, he just crawler swarming them. Yeah, I need some chaff clear. Oh, my sandworm actually survived this time. These are the distractions. What do we have on offer? Speaking of horde clear. Yeah, put it back a bit, I think. We get range enhancement on it. We also want some more marksmen. And use that to promote the worm, so it'll hopefully survive a bit longer. And get another shield over here. Oh, he also went Falcons. Cool. Interesting. They're doing a much worse job of dealing with the worm now. Should probably buy another worm. I'll take laser sights and put it on Vulcan. Gonna get another worm for this side, get mechanical division and replicate. Which means when it dies, it makes larvae, which are just smaller sandworms. And also, every time it emerges from the ground, it creates a larva. He's only building chaff over here. I assume because I have the fire badgers over here. Oh, I missed that this could be also upgraded. Oops. Yeah, it's great. I love the sandworm. And most people don't know how to deal with it at all. Oh, he finally made his Void Eyes air units. So I need more marksmen now. Bait and snipe? Yeah. Pretty much. Loose formation crawlers work very well. Either that or high single health units. And we win. I think Phoenixes are quite good. They're just not that generally applicable. They're good air-ground single-target flying units. Most of the time, Marksman and Sabertooths are more generally applicable for, like, big damage, big single-target damage. Single shot. But Phoenixes can do a lot of interesting things. Brutal Llama. Interesting. Oh, this is a really good one. These two are really good. I think I picked this. What did he get? Cost control specialist. Interesting. Well, what I want is definitely additional sledgehammers. Tarantulas aren't very good against anything I have. They're mainly for chaff clear. And I can put a sentry missile over here. Interesting. Oh, he's not done yet. Is he going to continue splitting? No, he's not. Okay. I would have put some crawlers in front, given this is the anti-armor turret. Oh, right, but crawlers are fast, so they'll be in front by the time the contact actually happens. Nope, you still get shot by the anti-armor turret. Well, crawlers aren't great against sledgehammers, because they do have a small AoE on their attacks. But at the same time, sledgehammers are not really good horde clear. The sentry missile activated on a single crawler. Oof. That debuff timing. Come on, fight through it. There we go. I have played forts. I didn't like it too much. I'll take intensive training. Just because it's like a lot of time pressure. Against this, armor enhancement on the sledges. Like immediately. I'll also promote this sledge. In case he tries to flank. Armor enhancement reduces all the damage they take by a flat amount, which is really good against units like crawlers. Like, look, the crawlers aren't really doing any damage at all to the sledgehammers now. You got Farseers? That's a weird choice. I think I probably want Tarantulas or Mustangs for horde clear now. Portable shield on sledges is very funny. So I'm going to take it. I'm also going to get range enhancement on you, and I'm going to get another marksman. I really should have spread them out a little bit more. Anyway, sentry missile back there. Nope. That was not a good place to put it. You should have put it, like, over here where they'd target my marksman first. Let's see how this goes. That's the one that spawns a bunch of crawlers on the spot. Oh, but it did activate the sentry missile. Once again, Farseers, very bizarre choice. Ouch, those marksmen are going down. Ah, the marksman got caught out. But that'll probably get killed by the sledges. Just, it's a very marginal victory. What do I get? Sabretooth is a good choice. Arclight is an okay choice. It's probably Arclight. I'll go ahead and give it a range upgrade too, so it doesn't get itself into trouble. Alright, no worries, Mithril. Ooh, wait, in case he flanks the crawlers, I want these to be on the other opposite side, so they'll actually be attracted to where the crawlers are. I'll also get one more Arclight over here. Steel balls! That's a good choice on his part. But probably not enough. Yep, there we go. Improved Sandworm. It's not good against crawlers is the one problem. Which if you got more XP and is therefore doing more, it looks like it's you. I'll put that on you to give you better range. So the Farseers discouraged me from going air. And the tarantulas are really bad, quite bad for chaff. I'm just gonna get more sledges. And also finally get field maintenance on them. Nice recruitment, get an additional marksman. Make sure to put him there. Diddy-dum. The reason I was baffled by the Farseer plays, Farseers are usually used for anti-air. And a little bit of, like, support with stuff like photon emission. Another round one. Mustangs were a thing I was already thinking of. So yes, I will take it. We're going to put them at the back because they're very fast and we don't want them getting in front. Put them more towards the center though, I think. At least those that have the additional upgrade. I'm gonna buy some more Mustangs and put them at the back corners. I'm gonna need range enhancement on all the Mustangs. And finally buy a tech upgrade. So, what did he do this time? More steel balls, and he finally gave them range upgrade and absorption. Okay. Which makes them heal when they do damage. I probably need more marksmen then. Just to deal with the steel balls. Rip arc light. But yeah, he's not prepared for the Mustangs. As you can see. I'll take that. Lots of upgrades available. Definitely want more marksmen. What else do I want? Do I want an upgrade for something? Yeah, sure, let's pick up Elite Marksman. And then put a shield here. Oh, they tried to flank with some crawlers, which the Mustangs just killed. The thing about the Mustangs is they also double as additional layer of chaff. I think we win here, yeah. A lot of these have been very fast victories. Which is why I don't get to see much giant units. Because there is a restriction on the number of units you can deploy per round. Hi, Paige. Thank you. Love you too. I'm probably going to do one more game and then finally wrap up the stream, I think. Interesting one. Also interesting, but I think it's this guy. What did he take? Hounds, so we definitely want the sledges in front. I'm gonna put the fangs a bit behind. And buy some marksmen. Nah, 1 over. I think that's the play, yeah. Oh, we bought some crawlers also. Interesting choice. Well, the fangs will help deal with those. Oh, squats. No! One on one side, but not on the other, because he concentrated like all his forces over here. I'll have to wait until after this game to do the squats, because I actually can't afford it, I think. Because there is a timer to deploy your shit. I'm gonna take laser sights, but I'm not gonna use it yet. Hey, I didn't get another group of fangs. Oh, you put the missile there, of course. Ouch. Didn't kill anything, though. I need a range upgrade on the marksman. Oh, Scorpion's an interesting choice. Oh, I didn't realize Scorpion was as good at countering sledges as it is. I'll need to take note of that. Damn it. That's really good. Get the range enhancement, and I'm gonna also buy some more marksmen. Okay. Sentry missile over there to wear down my guys, huh? Ouch, the scorpions. Hi, Virgil! Ooh, good timing. This marksman will get a lot more out now. Yeah, the marksman getting a lot more damage in is a big deal. Ouch. He's still gonna win this round. But I was close to turning it around on him. I'll take this for the crawlers, I think. And in fact, put the thing on them. And get the range upgrade. Yeah, put them decently far back. I'm gonna put armor enhancement on them, even though it's not good against scorpions. I'm gonna get some more sledges over there, and I'm going to put a missile there in case he tries to flank me. Oh, he did. With 2 rhinos. Jesus Christ. Which that was not enough to counter. Thank God for the marksman. Yeah, those fire badgers are doing a really good job of clearing out the crawlers so they can focus on actually, so everything else can focus on actually important things. Gonna actually win this round. There we go. First Saber-2 steel ball production line and mobilized battleship. It's a mobilized battleship. Especially because he has no anti-air. Well, he also did get some Mustangs, I see. So I'm going to put the battleship back. Mustangs are his only anti-air, and they're bad against Wraith, so I'm actually going to pick up some Wraiths. I'm actually going to pick up a Wraith. And get armor enhancement on it. Put another sentry there. I should have gotten another marksman for the rhinos, too. They are both fired at the same target. One shortly after the other. It is for countering shield. Because remember, shield will always absorb a full hit of damage. Yeah, that Wraith really overperformed. I want some more upgrades for it. Yeah, he went for tanky scorpions, I guess, instead of the long-range siege ones. Get range enhancement on you so you don't go as far forward. That should help deal with those. Fortresses? Interesting choice. Also, all of this shit is so clustered. Please give me like something like a missile or a nuke. Like, if he's playing like this, I wonder how he's at this MMR, actually. Like, why are you clustering everything up so much? There's a reason I'm spreading shit out. He's still not putting anything to stop me over here. Yeah, that does like nothing to the Ray. What is he trying? Probably that's what he's doing. That might actually be a strategy because he did use the shield earlier. And the idea is to like keep them all within a space he can put a shield on. Well, he still can't kill the Wraith. So no matter what he does, he's still gonna lose. Oh no, they can out-heal the Wraith! Oh god, is this gonna be stalemate? It does eventually end. Oh no, we're gonna kill him eventually. Yeah, it did eventually just end. Okay, both people take damage from remaining units if the timer runs out. Duh. Hi, Dusklight Wanderer. Welcome in. You're right, I should have put the shield further forward. And the nuke. Oh, you could have been upgraded, whatever. Oh, he also bought nuke. Interesting. So if they don't walk too far out of the shield. A lot of them did, unfortunately. Oh, he won a lot of fortresses. But, like, his entire army got nearly destroyed there. Oof, but I lost a ton of shit, too. Yeah, that was not good outcome for me. I don't think I'm gonna die from this, but ouch. Yeah. An additional deployment slot is very good. Finally take floating artillery array for the race. I'm gonna take that and finally get some tech upgrades. Oh, I got barriers for them. I guess that's what his plan for the fortresses was. I should get melting points then. For the Wraith? Yeah. The set of upgrades is basically like the thing that makes Race wreck any swarms of guys and be immune to Mustangs, which are like the typical anti-air counter. Yeah, that missile didn't achieve a lot. Oh, the ones here? Yeah. If you don't have anything else to spend on, and it's late game. He's obviously increasing the power of all of your units. Yeah, look at his inability to effectively deal with my race. Although they don't have the greatest single target. Look at this. There we go. You know, I was just about to go get some phoenixes. I'll put another one of those race over there, and then other than that, I'm just gonna get some more phoenixes. And I'm gonna mobilize battleship. Oh, we went melting points. It's probably time to go for fangs in front. Look at that, the racer performing still though. Yikes, I think I lose this round, just barely. Actually, not just barely, I think I lose the game. Fuck. Ah, finally a loss. Ripperonian pasta. What do I get pinged for in general? Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up here. I'm getting tired. Well... If you didn't know already, I have a Discord. You should join it. Here's the link in the chat. We're gonna find somebody to raid. Huh, who do we raid in here? I think Remy, because it's been forever. I will see you all on Tuesday for more Hollow Knight. The thing with Nyara tomorrow is canceled because of her SSD issues. But anyways, I'll see you on Tuesday.